My name is Jeff Hickman. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for the State of Hawaii Department of Defense, and welcome to our podcast, Koa Exchange, Boots, Wings, and More. In our series of podcasts, we had a series with our Cecil. We've covered different special events and projects that were coming up. Today is kind of self-serving. We're being a little selfish. We're going to do two podcasts, and this is the first of the two that's going to talk about something public affairs-y. And so I have with me today Rachel. Rachel, can you do me a favor? Can you introduce yourself, your position, and who your favorite boss is?
Of course. So my name is Rachel Blaire. I am a public affairs specialist. I work for the Hawaii Army National Guard, and I'm in the Public Affairs Office. In case you're wondering who my boss is, it's that gentleman sitting over there.
Excellent. Yes. So Rachel is my deputy. She's been working a lot with the Army Guard. She'll be working a little bit more with the Air Guard. She does a whole bunch of special projects for the Public Affairs Office for the state of Hawaii DoD as a whole, concentrating more on the Air and Army National Guard. Rachel, when we bring people on, we have them tell our Guard story, units they've been in, deployments, positions they've held. Can you tell us your civilian story, how you got here?
Sure. So like you mentioned, I don't have prior experience with military service. However, I've been around a lot of the bases. I had a good chunk of my experience with the battleship Missouri. So I was the event manager there for a few years. I did a lot of the military ceremonies, including a couple signature events. One of the things the battleship Missouri is known for is it's the spot where World War II officially ended. So during my tenure there was the 75th anniversary of that event. And I got to start working with a lot of the different PAOs and different commands and units, specifically Indo-PACOM I spent a lot of time with, and I was very impressed by their public affairs people. And I realized that might be an interesting career field. So I went back to university to get my master's degree, and as I was finishing up that program, I started putting out my application to different positions on island, and I happened to apply for the Hawaii Army National Guard, and here I am.
Your experience with the Battleship Missouri really did stand out in your resume, and we appreciated that level of, I guess, coordination with the military as part of experience. So that really helps. So thank you again for coming. Thanks for taking the job and being the deputy. You're doing a great job so far. So let's get started. One of Rachel's projects is the history of our department, but she's doing a lot with the Army and Air National Guard as well. I guess the first question is what's the benefit of saving and sharing the department's history?
All right, so I'm going to be a little cliche, right? When it comes to history, if you don't know where you've been, it's hard to know where you're going to go. So we really want to save this history to know what the Hawaii National Guard has done. We've been around since 1852. We have an incredible history. It's also been very varied. We've gone through a lot of different phases and what our role has looked like, all the way back when the kingdom was still a thing to present day where we deal with a lot of natural disasters. So the Hawaii National Guard has transitioned quite incredibly, and we want to be able to document that history for future generations, because I'm sure when events were going back 100 years ago, they didn't think we'd be looking at it today.
So I know you've been busy compiling and gathering stuff. Well, what did the history of the department and the National Guard look like as you started this project?
Yeah, so I happened to be extremely lucky. We had some great predecessors who were very involved in the history and wrote some great articles. So they had all this research. There's actually a whole room just full of boxes of photos and old articles, and it's just all very hands-on. So what we're trying to do is digitize it and bring it into the modern age. So a lot of the groundwork was laid, and now we're just putting it out there so it's accessible for a lot of different people.
So that's a lot of work, digitizing all of those documents. How can people out there find the history in this project? Everything that you're finding and digitizing, where can they find this information?
Yeah, so we have our Hawaii National Guard history up on our website. Check the link below in the description. We also are putting out stories in our Pupuka'i newsletter, which you can subscribe to get some of the highlights. And then we advertise on our social media when we have new stories or articles or little fun facts about what's going on.
So you mentioned a couple of them, but what are some of the documents and places that you've been able to gather that information and then put it into categories that you put onto the website?
Yeah, so since we have so much history, we're trying to be strategic about how we're uploading it. So what we've started for the process is we're going through our annual reports, which are documents that start back in about 1907, and we've published almost every year or biannually. And it gives a really good snapshot of what was going on in the Guard at the time and what even the overall department looked like as it's transitioned, as we've added departments have moved out, all the different things that have gone on. Next, we've gone to our Pupuka'i newsletter, which is actually still active. It's been running for over 50 years. So this version dates back to the 70s and it has a lot of great stories and articles about what everyday life was like. Now we're in the process of starting to digitize our Hawaii Guardsman, which is very similar to the Pupuka'i, except it ran from the 50s to the 70s. So as we upload all these different articles, we're taking the photos, we're captioning them, and we are putting it up by category, and we're expanding our timeline. So it's always being updated and added to.
So you mentioned the categories. So what are some of the categories or groups that you've broken these documents that you pulled from annual reports and from the two different newsletters?
Yeah, so we've broken it up on the timeline by decade. So if you're interested in, say, what we're doing in the 50s or the 70s or even what we were doing back in the 20s, we have it all broken up by that. And you can go and read a little sentence or two. And if we happen to have more material, you can actually click on a link and it expands out and we'll have all the material related to that particular event in there. Additionally, since there's multiple divisions within the State Department, we're not only focusing on the Hawaii Army National Guard, we're focusing on the Hawaii Air National Guard, we're focusing on our Emergency Management Agency, we're focusing on our Office of Veterans Services, and we're focusing additionally on our Civ Mill. And so we're giving everybody coverage. It's just coming and going in different pieces as we have a lot of work to go through.
I remember seeing lists of commanders, lists of sergeant majors, units and deployments. And so it was a real simple list and you've really taken it to a whole new level. Can units or individuals send you documents or pictures that can be used in our history?
Yeah, so with our history, we're always looking for more information. We do have a public email that you'll see below in the link, and you're more than welcome to send us information that you have. Just provide a little bit of context about what it is, where it came from. But anytime we can get that information out there, we'd love to have it.
We recently had a phone call from a relative of a former tag, and this is a tag from I think it was from the 50s and 60s, and let us know some information. So we're able to update it real time on the tag pages and in the tag sections. I was able to use it in a speech. So if you do have any content you want to share with us, please do see the email and the website below to get us that information. What are some of the things that you found to be the most interesting?
Well, I guess just learning the variety of the history, and we've had a couple different units do interesting missions over the years. So the Nike Hercules mission I found rather fascinating. So we were actually responsible for defense of the island at one point, and it was this massive program that employed quite a few of our guardsmen. But we had to set up all these old school missiles and maintain them and keep ready and be prepared for the worst case scenario.
They were at the beach.
Yes.
The missiles were at the beach in case the Russians attacked. What was something you found to be crazy or a little bit like, wow, I never would have guessed that?
Well, we've actually been activated for multiple wars, and one of the interesting stories that doesn't get a lot of attention took place during World War II. We were called into service and we had some guys training on Oahu and they were taking a boat back to Big Island. However, there was a Japanese submarine in the water and it actually shot down the boat. And we had a couple survivors. Unfortunately, there's a lot of individuals that passed away. However, due to the wartime sensitivity, no one talked about the incident until after the war. And even after that, it didn't get a lot of coverage or recognition because everybody focuses on December 7th in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, that was because that was so interesting. We got to interview somebody who is doing a memorial for that for the first of the 299th Cavalry on the Big Island. So that's another podcast. There'll be a link to that also below in the comments. What are some of the challenges that you've had gathering and sharing this history?
Yeah, so there's been a couple challenges with all the history. It's a little bit tedious work, so like we've had some interns come through to help with that. But additionally, when you're looking at different time periods and writing styles, what might be normal or socially acceptable or common convention of that time changes over the years. So acronyms that might have been used back then aren't used now, so you're trying to figure out what do they mean. And then you're also looking at people with different perspectives. The Hawaii National Guard is very diverse and has gone through different phases of guardsmen and them telling their stories. So there's a lot of perspective going on and a lot of personal stories. So trying to encompass all of that in the proper context has been a challenge.
Yeah, you have to read from their perspective during that decade or period in American history, which was sometimes not the prettiest. And they're the ones who got the most information written down. Thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for definitely doing an excellent job on taking the content, the documents, the already made lists from our experts and making it in a way that's digestible online. You can definitely find all of this stuff at dod.hawaii.gov, and you can click on the department info tab and it'll take you right to National Guard history. But if you click on that, it has the history for the entire state of Hawaii DOD. Rachel's put it all on there. And there's emails on there that an email on there where you can send us documents as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I just want to throw out there that if you guys do have any information, you have any suggestions or comments, or you have a little tidbit that we may not know about, please share. There is so much information out there to go through and digest, and we're always looking for more guidance and feedback. And we really want to be able to tell your National Guard story, because all the individuals that make up the Guard is really what makes it incredible.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you again for being here today. Again, I'm Jeff Hickman. This is Rachel Blaire from the Public Affairs Office. Thank you for joining us on the Koa Exchange. See you next time.